Uh, um, when we were contemplating our traditional for CSI January Tech Talk, we said, "Hey, can we do it for the wider Acture audience? Because we love doing this sort of stuff and teaching and sharing and learning." But I just came off a shoulder replacement, so it's like, well, can I get an assist here in doing the presentation? And one of the cool things about Acture is they do a bunch of things that we never did. I'm a Windows guy. I'm not a Mac guy. Bob's the Mac guy, but not nearly the expertise that Acture has had. And so Gabe had told me, he said, well, we work with three of the four largest Mac implementations in K-12 in New York State. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. And he's like, I said, do you have anything to do that we could talk about? Because that would definitely be a new topic, not hearing the same thing for the CSI folks. And he's like, yeah. So he put us in touch with one of Acture's finest, Larry Lanigan, who's out there someplace. Welcome, Larry. And also Janet Beam. Larry is the technology operations manager for Pleasantville School District. Um, has a bunch of people working, doing a lot of Mac stuff, and Janet is the senior educational technologist for district instructional technology. And we're just gonna, for their portion of the presentation, just kind of geek out on Mac things and how to manage Macs. And they're doing some pretty innovative and effective things down there. And I know for the portion of you guys, the CSI audience, we've never talked about this stuff. So truly new information. So with that, welcome Janet and Larry. I think Larry's got a bit of a uh, voice issue coming back from an illness, I think. And so Janet's gonna drive, and they're gonna talk about what they're doing with Macs and managing Macs, something I've never talked about. So welcome, guys. We're pretty excited by that, and take it away.
Thank you, Scott. And hello, everyone. Thank you for coming for today. So we're going to go through our transition to an Apple ecosystem in our elementary school, which is our newest initiative that we had started last year. For this transition, our district had in our BRS, which is our elementary school, we had two different types of systems. We had a Windows system for grades 2 through 4, and we had Apple in grades K and 1. So we moved away towards the end of last year and started preparing to move to Apple devices for all grades in our elementary school. This allowed us to have more of a consistent and innovative learning environment throughout all grades instead of having two different ecosystems. All of the new Apple equipment has been given to our students, teachers, and staff. This helps create a consistent environment in which we can help facilitate learning that is replicable between the teachers and the students. And to help support this, we use Mosyle MDM to help push our policies, our accounts, and our applications that are provided to these Apple devices. When we began this transition, we had three things in mind: our purpose, our vision, and our end goal. So our purpose was to improve user experience, functionality, and scalability. With scalability, we are considering how we can ease the incorporation of adding this Apple environment to our other buildings as we begin to progress through this Apple transition for our elementary school to help adapt for each of our other buildings. And using that, we created a vision that we would like to have a unified Apple environment for a seamless experience for our end users. We want things to feel natural. We want things to be very user-friendly. So we use this as a way to ensure that our end users are able to function in this new environment. And in the end, we're hoping that this created a way for the new environment to be simply navigated through the use in either a teaching situation for our students as they're learning, and looking at the boundless opportunities for instructional capabilities. With this, we have the mindset that we want to help develop new skills and help the teachers and our students grow. In order to help that in our learning environment, there are a few things that we needed to make sure happened. Our district maintains a Microsoft environment. So when we went to Apple, it helped to put the Microsoft environment onto these devices to keep that consistency as we moved forward with this transition. Then in assisting with the move to Apple, we provided ways in which teachers can use different instructional methods to help with this new technology, to help provide them with various opportunities of using these new devices in various ways that promoted different skills, different retention abilities, different techniques that they could give to their students that would help them understand the content that they're teaching. To better support our teachers, we've been providing various coaching sessions for not only them, but their students to make sure that they are supported during this transition to allow this Apple system to flourish and ensure that if there's greater chances of needing to give different ideas for how we can restructure different instruction, then that is a great opportunity to provide that. With these models, it helps to build confidence by using these existing tools, but also building off of them to help with the practices of daily teaching, with helping ensure that the teachers are able to provide their content and their lessons so students can understand and be able to progress in those skills that they need to develop in order to progress in that content area. And lastly, by having a balanced environment with the Apple system, we create a system of familiarity and innovation. Having the same devices across all of the grades in our elementary school allows them to have that familiarity as they move on to the rest of their grades in this building. It also helps us progress in ways that we can change teaching and learning to help them continue to grow in this age of technology. When we began our deployment process, there are 4 key features. We used the Mosyle MDM for enhancement management and functionality. This allowed us to monitor our devices, push our policies, accounts, and so on. It's our back end to everything we do with our Apple environment. We also have automated device enrollment for iPads and MacBooks. This makes setting them up very seamless. It's very not time consuming in a manner that allows us to get them deployed very fast to teachers and students if they need a loaner for whatever reason, if a student is missing one, or any other case. And as I said before, we are also integrating current systems that we have already had in place. So we are using Microsoft as a basis for a lot of our platforms and programs. That has stayed consistent to allow for that comfortability and that same environment that they had before with the laptops that they no longer have in the building. Additionally, we also use Lightspeed to help with our filtration. And then we also used dedicated Apple support and instructional teams to maintain and also help grow in areas that needed a little more additional support, and also help gather ideas that progressed as we went through this deployment process. So the resources that we needed in order to make this Apple transition possible were the elementary level school team and district level tech support. So people from Larry, Michael Prendergast, myself, our educational technologists over at our elementary school, and some of the elementary teachers that were combined to be a part of our team, as well as our administration for the elementary school, were a key asset in making sure that we had every step that we needed to ensure the development of this deployment would be a success to help structure the Apple environment in a way that fit the needs of our district, but also the needs of our teachers and our students when it came to teaching and learning. We also leaned on a lot of our partners from our Apple deployment success team, those at Lyric, and our Mosyle onboarding team. These three partners were very key in our success for this deployment process, especially with the initial setup of all of the platforms and ensuring that we had everything structured and ready for when we were providing devices at the beginning of the school year to our students and our staff. To start planning the process for providing these Apple devices and these resources to our elementary school, we had to really think of a comprehensive strategy to roll these out to help ease transition. We wanted to ensure that as we were doing this, we considered the aspects of what was needed from our elementary school, what are they looking for, how are we going to support instruction, and in what way do we need to have these devices structured so that way it best fits that environment. So that strategy helped facilitate part of our development in the deployment. We also needed to evaluate our network health and prepare our Apple School Manager. So we had to look at our network health to understand how these new devices were going to be functioning on this with this change, and used our Apple School Manager to help facilitate a lot of the back end pieces needed for this transition. And with this move, we also went from a limited use of a Jamf environment to a full Mosyle MDM. We do have some district devices currently that were on Jamf, and we are slowly moving them away from that environment. So we didn't originally have a true Apple environment, but we are slowly moving in that direction with this deployment of Apple devices. During our implementation phase, we had to do a lot of device configuration and testing to ensure that they would work effectively for teaching and learning, since that is the biggest component as to why this change was made. We wanted to ensure that they would be great for what was being planned for that building, that environment, and those grade level students, to ensure that instruction benefits them in a way that allows for further growth and also gives them the opportunity to develop new skills, understandings, comprehension, and so on. So we used our Apple School Manager, or ASM, to be integrated with our SIS, which is eSchool data. This helps provide the information that we can use to help create accounts and the profiles that would be provided in the devices. As we use a lot of Microsoft products here in the district, we also federated the Apple devices to have the Microsoft login to be used. So the federation setup was also done to help smooth over that transition with the comfortability of still using Microsoft. And then we also created different user profiles and pushed different policies based off level of user to ensure that they are structured for who they are intended. And for this process as well, we really took a lot of time. It took a lot of planning, different strategies, and we wanted to make sure that this was done to assist all of these processes that we have been planning since the spring, to make sure that the timing and the development of this process would be executed perfectly for our staff and students. So some of the highlights from our deployment: we were able to provide each student and staff with pre-configured devices. So devices that we gave at the beginning of the year, they were already assigned to a student. They already knew the student's grade level, profile, and everything was structured exactly for that person. Same thing with teachers. It was already established for what they needed and where they were going to be and their content level. With that, to help with these new devices, we also planned various professional learning opportunities for teachers to help familiarize themselves with the new edition of Apple. We took time with our partners at Apple to have a professional learning day before school started to ensure that our teachers felt prepared, that they were comfortable. And as the school year progressed from the first half, we provided additional coaching opportunities in their classroom with them and their students to help support instruction and teaching different skills that could be potentially built off of for further development with the Apple environment. And with that, we were able to ensure that all devices that we were using for this elementary school were ready by the first week of school. Everything was already assigned to students. Everything was already ready to be assigned to staff. We just had to give the devices to them as they walked in the door. While we did have a lot of successes, we also had some challenges, and we also came up with various solutions to make sure that we address them. So one of the biggest issues we had was trying to overcome the overcrowding on the network VLANs. So this overcrowding led to a flux inside of the network, which caused flooding, which reduced the network capabilities on these new devices. So we worked with our different partners with Lyric, Apple, Mosyle to ensure that there were updates done so that way the network would be able to function with these new devices. As I said before, we moved a lot of devices from Jamf to Mosyle, which is our new MDM, and that allowed us to really become more of a Mosyle district. We also wanted to make sure that as we progressed through this, we had to determine how do we help our users become adaptable to this new environment? What processes did we need to do? And how do we get these strategies in place? What is our best plan and method of action? And essentially, it's through training and ongoing support. We are providing various different coaching levels coming up for our teachers over our elementary school to make sure that they feel continually supported as we've moved to Apple and as we further progress into this environment. And lastly, one of the biggest challenges as well is we had to ensure that location services on the Apple devices and Mosyle School Manager were enabled in order for certain functions to work on either side. So we needed to work together as a team to help make sure that the location services on these devices were enabled so we can do certain functionalities with the platforms. At the end of this process, we have some results and outcomes. After we have transitioned to Apple for our elementary school, one of the achievements that we have done is we have enhanced the instructional capabilities with Apple tools. There are many different things that the teachers can now access and have the skills to develop with the addition of the new tools provided in this Apple environment, which are either native to the Apple environment itself through the device or through learning either from the coaching or from when we have Apple come in and help with coaching sessions as well. We also were able to streamline device management and support processes. So we were able to manage devices from afar. We can use Mosyle to go into any device, see what's going on, what's being pushed, what needs to be pushed, if there's anything missing, and correct any issues that might be going on in the back end, which allows us to really stay on top of our devices, make sure that they're being maintained in a provisioning manner, and help with the support process where it's very seamless to work with Apple and figuring out the issues that are occurring with the devices. It's very manageable. It's not as time consuming as before. And since this transition, we've had a lot of positive feedback from staff and students, especially with the addition of providing that extra support and that ongoing support to ensure that they are felt, they are cared for, they have their needs met, and that we are continuing to provide for them as we go on. So some metrics is as we were able to deploy devices, we had 100% device distribution within the timeline. we were able to get everyone their device by the time school started. The only exception would be if someone came late and we just had to provide after, but first day, everyone was able to have a device. Then we have seen a 87% reduction in the amount of time needed to troubleshoot and repair devices. Before, it would take some time to really sit with the Dell laptops and work through them. Now it's very seamless. It's very quick to determine issues with the Apple devices that we have, either from the teacher side or the student side, which allows us to have more time in making sure that we can help support the building in other manners. So after all of this implementation and incorporation into our elementary school, there are some key takeaways, excuse me. So transitioning to an Apple environment fosters innovation and efficiency. It's very easy to set up and establish this environment from the back end and manage it through our Mosyle MDM, which allows us to work on more instructional needs where we can get support to provide those skills, the help with comprehension, help with a lot of understandings that could benefit our instructional environment. Having strong partnerships, as suggested with Lyric, Apple, Mosyle, these helped our long-term success as we were going through this process. It provided us with the ability to ensure that we were checking off every box along the way to make sure we met the needs of the district, the building, our teachers, our staff, our students, and our administrators, so that this could be the best possible solution for ensuring success in the transition. And as said before, we're going to continue to provide ongoing support to help give long-term benefits for students and staff. As students and staff feel that they are getting their needs met while they are learning through this environment, they are able to work through and decide and determine to develop new skills and work towards a greater advancement in what can be accomplished in the classroom, going out beyond just basic level of skills and moving up to higher thinking and higher cognitive functioning skills. So with this as well, we have created a way to have endless possibilities for a creative environment in education that allows us to provide opportunities for retention and learning. So lastly, our next steps after this incorporation of Apple into our elementary school, we are excited that our new DOT, Mike Sammartano, has come on and embraced this change with Apple and has supported this transition with trying to make sure that everything is supportive of teaching and learning to ensure that our students and our teachers and our faculty, our staff, and our administration is taken care of. We are enthusiastically pushing for Apple in our other buildings. We are currently looking into how this has played out and how this can be used for our other two buildings at our middle school and our high school, potentially. And we are beginning to have a high, sorry about that. I apologize. We are really enthusiastic about this change, and we are hoping that this will provide a high degree of confidence, not only from us, in which we believe wholeheartedly in this transition and fully embracing this change, but we want to push this confidence to our other buildings if this is the route we are intending to take, and ensuring that they feel just as supported and heard during their transition process. So that is our transition and our innovation to Apple for our elementary school. I will open the floor for any questions.
That was awesome. Thank you for that. Very, very good presentation. As the Windows guy in the room, everything, I hear is like, oh, well, we got to do something with Jamf. you transitioned from Jamf to Mosyle. What was the thinking there? And I think you laid out some of the benefits, but why did you leave Jamf? Because it sounded like you were in Jamf, maybe in a smaller before you did all this. But what's the backstory to your thinking on that?
So Jamf has a very complex interface that we're comfortable with, but Mosyle is more simplified. It's a little bit easier and more user friendly. So that alone was kind of our big push to go towards the Mosyle direction rather than put all of our devices onto Jamf that we were obtaining for this transition.
So keep it simple is basically it. It was just easier for you guys to do what you needed to do without extreme expertise and outside resources.
Yes, and it was better scalability for the amount of devices that we were going to be adding to this platform for this MDM, which allowed it to be easier to manage what we were trying to accomplish with ensuring that our building was supported via what we were pushing through the MDM.
Okay, that's cool. I see just looking at the attendee list of the folks I know, there's a bunch of people kind of where you are in terms of Mac initiatives, especially elementary school Mac initiatives. So that was really great. Anyone else have any questions? You type in the chat. Um, if not, we will move on to part two, uh, which is
Scott,
yes.
Scott, this is Larry Lanigan,
Hey,
the tech operations manager. I just
hey.
wanted to take an opportunity to thank Janet for
Yeah, she was
sitting for
awesome.
me. I'm just coming off of pneumonia, and so it was not going to be able for me to give a solid, coherent presentation, and she stepped up at the last minute. So
Yeah,
I
she
just really
this
wanted to acknowledge that and
yeah,
express my gratitude to
yeah.
her for being willing to step in and really save the day here.
Rock star on that. So cool beans. All right. So I guess if somebody thinks of a question, you guys are hanging around, I guess, so we can
Yeah, we'll stay around.
we can go back to you. So I'm going to switch gears to something not nearly as exciting as you guys, much more mundane. Um, again, for those that don't know me, Scott Quimby, CSI, Acture, Senior Technical Advisor. I am a CISSP. Been doing this forever. I started with DOS 1.0, Windows 1.0, Microsoft Word 1.0. Microsoft was this little company in Scottsdale, Arizona. So been at this a while, doing a lot of security stuff for many years now. The cool thing about CSI Acture is where CISSP is the highest security vendor independent security certification. We have two. If you haven't met Cole, Cole is my bookend with a lot of security experience, and he also is a CISSP as well as a infrastructure wizard. So if you haven't met him, he's truly a gem. Get to the mundane stuff. Security update. They say that ransomware was down last year. Um, However, data exfiltration's up. They want to steal your data. It's easy to just take it. You may not even know it's gone. And more and more ransomware is the lovely parting gift once we've taken everything we want from you. And so basically, hold on, sorry about this. I don't know why my camera won't go on. I apologize for that. Um, And so that's what's going on. And they say despite all your security awareness training and all the stuff we do, phishing is up. Successful phishing is up. Now they say when they're looking at these studies that um, they have the um, AI generated phishing links, which are perfect text, perfect color, perfect font, perfect everything, that 90% of the AI generated phishing links are getting through. And that if they get to you, your users are clicking on them because they're that good. You truly cannot tell. Um, 90%. There's actually, if you've heard me speak before, I've talked about this. There's actually, ransomware as a service, pay $500. You're in the ransomware as a service business, excellent customer support, help desk, Windows update services, troubleshooting. They provide better service than most any vendor does. But what you can do is for, I think it's $300, something like that. You can buy 5,000 uh, Microsoft 365 uh, compatible uh, uh, phishing templates that they guarantee will all be delivered, or you get your money back. And they're very good about honoring that's that good. Now they say the non AI generated stuff, maybe 17% is getting through. Business email compromise, song remains the same. Microsoft 365, especially Google as well, Google Apps, you can't say it isn't, is a huge target. All right, a huge target. And the fact that I can sit there and pound on Microsoft 365 or pound on Google till the end of time for basic to try to break those passwords and the like is just, we don't have a lot of defenses against that except MFA. MFA, if they're banging against you and they're doing their 16 whatever uh, million password spray attacks a year, um, MFA challenge. That's it. You don't do MFA, you're very suicidal. It's just you must have anything that's touching the internet, any cloud service must be MFA. Um, we're seeing a lot of, overseas stuff. And again, when we're working with our security operations centers, we tell them, hi, oh, you're all schools. Schools are not logging in on President's Day weekend at 11:30 at night from South Korea. It's not happening. Um, no one should be logging in from overseas to Microsoft 365 or Google Apps or whatever. And we have the SOCs, our SOCs, generating reports and flagging that stuff and killing that stuff. But the song remains the same. It's mail filtering rules. Um, it's basically getting through with weak passwords. There's still about 3%. Well, it's 3%, it's growing, but it's 3% of where they've actually gotten by MFA. So that's ground zero for this. And if you're not doing something um, to protect yourself from that, either in the Google space or the Microsoft space, you're really, really at risk. We're seeing those business email compromises, trying to steal money, trying to steal personal information. If you're not doing something about that, you should be talking to Lisa, and you probably should be on our webinar next Wednesday, same time. Talk to Lisa about that because we have some interesting tools to protect you in that space. Um, I've said this over and over again, eyes on glass compensates for a whole lot of stuff. So having that security operations center overseeing your network and hacker hours, nights, weekends, holidays is really a big deal. And even if you're not don't have the most robust, elegant security platform in district, the fact that you have somebody paying attention all the time, whether you're paying attention or not, what we've seen with this ransomware as a service and most of these attacks against schools that we deal with, and I deal with a lot of them, are hacker hours, nights, weekends, holidays. And time after time, what we consistently see is when the attacker is, if they've gotten through and they're somewhere inside your network and they see that there's some sort of active defense, host isolation, which even like Huntress does host isolation on the low end, um, that the attackers will break off and go someplace else that's easier to hack. So that's a big deal. And we can certainly talk to you about those things. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You know, we talk about, well, you need the SOC as a service, and you really do. That should be your next purchase if you haven't done that. In terms of upping your game and securing your district, or you should be going from these low end um, endpoint antivirus or low end EDR, like the low end CrowdStrike or the low end um, SentinelOne Core or what have you, to the real stuff. And then, we get, oh, well, there's no money and we can't do this and whatever. Well, as the bad guys get more and more um, innovative and aggressive, as you do a better and better job of protecting your endpoints. What did they do? They moved to the cloud, this business email compromise, because that's the weak spot, right? What did they do? They moved to data exfiltration first and maybe ransomware as the parting gift. And what did they do? They went from, district pay me money to now district pay me money, staff pay me money, students pay me money, right? Where if they have personally identified information, they go after all of that. And that's why I always say when I hear districts with union issues about MFA and all this garbage, they're going after the staff. They're gonna, if they steal it from the district, they're gonna steal, they're gonna steal that information from the staff. We just had the Power School incident, and that's scary stuff. And so everybody's on the team, and the teachers must be on the team for MFA because we're protecting them too and their information too. But now, in upping their game, and maybe this might be a financial motivation, they're going after the people in charge of the organization. So they're not just saying, give me money now. What they're doing is they're looking at, in a school, it would be school board members, superintendent, district office people, principals, and they're going after them. You don't want to pay me? That's cool. And they're doxing them. They're basically swatting. We went through this rash of swatting, all these overseas phone calls that somebody's going to shoot up a school or bomb a school that we went through. And now they're doing it, for the executives. If you're not going to pay me, then they're going to call 911 and, say there's somebody, holding somebody hostage at your house. Disinformation, right? Putting out false information on you. Deepfakes, remember, a couple seconds of audio and you can create these totally believable videos and audios. I just read in the news the other day that schools had reported that they had a couple people with these online kids or related to the district somehow with online uh, extortion. These deep fake things. There's a suit. I think it's in Michigan right now where a principal is suing the district because somebody made a fake video with all these racist contents, that they were like doing all this stuff. So again, you don't want to put the money into upping your defense uh, and given the right tool set to try to protect the interests of the district. It's too expensive to get the proper EDR or SOC or whatever. That's the new angle. They're just going after the top. And so you kind of look at the school board members and you look at the superintendent in the district office. They're coming for you now. that's the next action is, okay, we're gonna SWAT you. That all of a sudden the police show up at your house at 3 in the morning. Um, so scary world, but this is the next level that they're doing now. Um, on the security front, CISA is so weirded out, right? You heard how China hacked the treasury, right? And uh, all that, and we had all the solar winds thing before that, and it's just the federal government has been shredded by China and Russia, and with the most recent incidents with uh, the Treasury and Microsoft 365, CISA has now basically ordered that all federal agencies secure their Microsoft tenants. So that kind of goes back to my opening comment about if you're not doing something there already to protect yourself from the cloud with MFA and the like, well, the government is starting to, aggressively push this topic. The other thing that CISA said, even though this says Microsoft 365, um, they said the Google Apps is going to get the uh, same requirement, and they're just working on the guidance for that. I should say that our presentations, the PDFs, and all these hot links for stuff, Lisa will have, and she can distribute it. Also, this is being recorded, so if somebody missed it, you wanna share, you can do that. Sentinel-1. Those of you know CSI, we're a big Sentinel-1 shop. We really believe Sentinel-1 is kind of best of breed. And the number one evaluation test mechanism in the world for EDR products is the MITRE test. And so they went through the 2024 MITRE test, and they don't rank products, but they basically put them through all these tests and say, well, here are the results. Every year, Sentinel-1 has won because, in our opinion, it's a bad product. But um, um, I think Sentinel-1's way they approach this is also the cleanest and fairest. Their attitude is it's the bad guy coming in at, 2 in the morning on Martin Luther King weekend, Monday morning, Martin Luther King weekend holiday. It's the bad guy coming in. All right. So whatever that EDR product is all you got. And no, you can't tell the bad guy to stop. We're going to change tools. We're going to tweak tools. It's just whatever you did against whoever you have, and hopefully you add a sock to that to be mined in the store. But that's how they come to this. They just say, here's our product, run it, tell us the results. A lot of other vendors, what they do is they stop the test, they change the configuration, they bring all sorts of other tools that you didn't purchase, and then they declare the winner. So it's kind of like, well, it's an open book test, and look at how well I did. Um, so basically, um, what's happened is MITRE said, we should try to even the score on that, because there's some people either, you know, embellishing the results or outright cheating. And they also said, it's not, we just heard this wonderful Mac presentation. They said it's not just a Windows world anymore. There's a lot of different things. So just to say in Windows we did something great isn't good enough. And so they wanted, in the new test, they wanted people to demonstrate that they had agility across multiple platforms. The other thing they said is like, hi, a vendor would come in and they would turn off PowerShell. Well, then you're pretty protected against PowerShell. But we all know in the Windows world, at least, we use PowerShell for good things. It's necessary. So just turning off the thing and declaring success isn't really protection. If we just left our computers off, we would be very, very safe. So anyway, they made the test instead of 2 days, 6 days. They said, no wonder engineer from any vendor can run the test. Every vendor has to teach the MITRE staff how to run their console. because that's more real. You're sitting there with whatever you own. And they said the vendor can be there to consult with the MITRE staff to run the console. They document any delays, any equipment ads, any like weird stuff that was beyond the test. And then they said, okay, we're gonna do three things. North Korea is doing this pretty effective Mac exploit. So we're gonna put that in the mix, and then Ubuntu Linux. People have Linux things, and a lot of vendors, shy away from that. So we're going to put a real Linux exploit in there too, and then we're going to go with Lockbit, ransomware as a service, the usual suspects. And those are the three platforms. So it's not just one thing; it's three things, three platforms. And then they said, we've been doing this test with just run the test. They said, but again, there's real, in a real network, there's real users out there. There's real processes. There's real things that go on. So why don't we put actual user load in there? So you can't just turn stuff off and declare success. The results, once again, Sentinel-1 had the best results. They saw 80 out of 80 possible things in what was going on. Some vendors didn't have tools for Mac. They didn't do Linux. They only participated partially. Actually, the Mac agent in Sentinel-1 is probably the strongest EDR agent for Mac in uh, um, in the world. Um, Sentinel-1, the other thing was Sentinel-1 was exponentially quieter in alerts and noise. Now Paolo, so my friends over at Brewster, who's on the call, Paolo got much, much quieter. Last year, I told you guys that, Paolo did a really good job, Cortex, but it was noisier than heck. And this year, they really cleaned that up. So I share that with you. Um, Now, the alert noise alert difference between Microsoft Trend and Cisco SN1 just mind blowing. And I gave you the links. You can go look it up yourself. Um, Now, CrowdStrike, right, who's probably the closest competitor, direct competitor to Sentinel-1 with Microsoft, didn't show up for the test with all their chaos, with all their meltdowns. They didn't come. I was baffled. I think they would have really done pretty well in this. So I gave you some links here. You can go read all this stuff yourself, but just a couple screenshots in terms of uh, noise and filtering out where they were against some of the others. And again, Sentinel-1's not here because they chose not to participate. And again, how effective were they in there was 80 things and who got 80 of 80? Palo got that too. Um, so anyway, we sell our CS EDR offering with the SOC and Sentinel-1 Complete. Um, but what I really think, and it's kind of in the middle here, among top tier vendors, I think we're seeing exactly what we saw in antivirus. In antivirus right now, they say, you shouldn't put money in antivirus. You should just use Windows Security, Windows Defender, the built-in stuff, because it's performing just as well as the commercial stuff on all the antivirus comparison tests. It's flattened out. Everybody's kind of figured it out. I think the same thing is honestly happening. We may be an S1 shop, but I think the same thing is honestly happening in the EDR space. That the more vendors have are getting similar scores in terms of finding stuff. The difference is in the noise. The difference is in the noise. Um, and so, Microsoft, Windows Defender for Business, or I guess ATP, that did well. I'm sure CrowdStrike would have done well, but the difference in noise, Cisco SecureX versus the noise is just insane. Um, and then you go back to, well, if it's just you against the world, how do you find How do you know what's going on if you're being overwhelmed with that? Now, if you're subscribing to a SOC as a service offering, they have tools to filter out a lot of that noise. So that, to kind of find the real thing. But, us mere humans don't really have that. I think CrowdStrike really messed up not coming. But the links are there. You can look for yourself. Windows, end of life, October 14th, 2025. That means no support. That means no security updates. That means, and I gave you a link for that, Microsoft's starting to say, well, apps may not work if you don't. Microsoft 365 apps may not work if you don't upgrade to Windows 11. Also, if you remember when Windows 7 went away, Windows XP went away, a lot of vendors, a lot of third-party vendors, when the vendor says, I don't do this anymore, um, the um, the third-party vendors say, we don't do this anymore because if Microsoft won't support you, they won't support them, and they just don't want the grief. So be prepared that all of a sudden stupid stuff, web browsers don't work and other stuff that the updates aren't supported. Um, and this is all arbitrary. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Windows 10. We all know it. This is completely arbitrary on Microsoft's part, but it's their railroad, and they're making the rules. Um, so uh, be prepared for that. So, you guys should, going through your budget cycle, going through your summer, if you're a Windows shop, this is the summer you gotta really figure this out. Those of you who haven't already. Um, uh, Critical, I sent a note out on this. Critical Windows a vulnerability against LDAP servers where you could crash domain controllers through a improper LDAP call. The guidance is real simple. If you apply the December security updates, you're cool. If you haven't, you're at risk. So make sure the December security updates are on your DCs, the one that does LDAP, your DCs, and then beyond that, and you're good. Um, this is something you should keep your eye on. Click on the link here. Um, this KB, coming up to February where there's going to be um, a tightening of Microsoft with certificate-based authentication. There's stuff about registry keys. There's stuff about blocking it. You need to be prepared for this. So get the slides from Lisa. Click on this link. Look through it. Deal with what you need to deal with. If you need help on this, reach out. But February 11th is coming, and this was announced a couple years ago. So, like, I mentioned this before in another venue, but it's a big deal. Microsoft Edge, one of the things they say is that's Microsoft supported Chrome browser, right? But they say if you have IE compatibility things with old web pages, they have IE support, and isn't it wonderful? Well, what happened in the fall is there was an announcement that North Korea was exploiting the IE compatibility mode in Edge to force the browser to go into IE compatibility, which then shredded the security so they could do bad things to you. And Microsoft announced that when they patched that particular thing, and then it's like, oh my gosh, it's like because I saw this patch from what would have been, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, show up. And it's like, everybody's like, we didn't know we were running IE still. Microsoft said we're not. Well, that was a lie. So what you want to do, because most of you don't really have old IE pages you need compatibility for, you need to go into default browser and you need to say, don't allow IE mode so that North Korea or China or Russia or whoever hates us can't trigger this to find the next exploit. This is, I realize we're coming close on time here. This is a big deal and it's going to happen in February. And it's not cool what Microsoft's doing. Microsoft is putting out a new Outlook, and the net is that this new Outlook to, in theory, be the Outlook you're going to use if you're an Outlook shop, a Microsoft 365 shop, probably, is going to be pushed out via security updates. And that's kind of slimy because a lot of us say, well, I don't want everything. I'll just take the security updates, you know. That's what I want. I want to keep myself protected, but I want to be stable and I'll evaluate, you know, version updates and feature updates and all this other stuff separately. But they're consciously putting this new outlook in security updates because you probably however you're patching, you probably have that turned on to force in the new outlook into your world without your permission. That's how to remove it. If it got there, you want to go take a look at this because the new Outlook compared to the old Outlook, it sucks. I mean, it's like there's this huge list of all the things it doesn't do. And a lot of people are upset from a security standpoint. A lot of people are upset from a functionality standpoint. Now, once again, kind of like Windows 11, where Microsoft took a bunch of stuff out when they went to 11 from 10 that we all didn't understand why they took it out. This is kind of like that because Microsoft's already announcing, oh, well, we're putting back PST support because they took away PST support and the like. So the first link there is kind of what the differences are. The second link, though, is the money shot for this, because what they talk about is they talk about how to block this. So you can either say, we're not going to do this, we're going to wait till summer and evaluate this, we're going to let them stabilize the platform more before we do this. So the second link here is there. There's registry keys we can easily push with group policy or Intune or what have you. There's a whole bunch of things. You saw the uninstall command. So this is coming soon, and so you don't have a whole lot of time to act on this. So if you need help on this, certainly reach out. A couple other things I'm just gonna glaze through for the sake of trying to be respectful of your time. There is a way, you know, Microsoft 365 business email compromise attacks, they're basically trying to, you know, forward email out in a lot of cases and the like. There is a way through Microsoft 365 Defender to block forwarding. I give you the listing and references there. The other thing that's been coming up a lot from a support standpoint recently is getting all these Google gateways and the Microsoft gateways running for your copiers and your other devices inside your district as you're using cloud-based email. The one that people seem to be falling on their face on the most is on Microsoft 365. I have instructions for Google too if you're a Google shop and having problems, but I just shared that. So we've kind of come to the end of our um, uh, I don't know who asked that. Uh, but I'm sorry, I got a weird text in Zoom. Um, come to the end of our presentation here. Couple things. Next week, we have a rather interesting webinar, same time, for the Blackpoint Cyber SOC. You know, I was talking about SOC as a service, eyes on glass. That is there. What they do with Microsoft 365 and Google is a thing of beauty. Um, so you want to sign up for that. We're going to do a webinar in February now that I'm back from my surgery and recovering well. Lisa and I will figure out what that is. April is traditionally we'll do our tech talk, and traditionally we do it in person. If you've attended that, that's, you know, we feed you breakfast, we feed you lunch, 3-4 hours in the morning, and plus lunch. Look for Lisa to tell you um, about that. To contact me if you know you haven't really hung out with me before, there's my email, there's my everything, LinkedIn. If you want to get on our mailing list, contact Lisa. I want to just show you, for those of you guys that aren't been hanging out with us. If you go to the blog page and you look at it, all my writings and some other folks too is up at the top under Tech Tidbits. There's a whole series on NIST, all things. Generally, I have a weekly thing on stuff to do. And if you kind of want to do stream of consciousness, what is going on with the security world, in the world focused towards K-12, you can go under tech news, and all this stuff replicates into my LinkedIn page too. But all the different articles, we just had the Fortinet Day Zero, we had the Avanti thing, the Power School. As soon as I see it real time, it goes up on this page. So you'll see 3 a.m. postings. And the like. So with that, that was our content. I think we're doing pretty good in terms of trying to respect your time. If anybody has any questions, happy to answer them. And if not, again, Lisa's got the PDF, which is going to the PDFs from both presentations, that she can share with you, that have the links that I reference on the things you need to track down. If you need help with any of that, obviously we're here to help. This is recorded as well, so both the Apple and my presentation is there. And if there aren't questions with that, I would say have a wonderful day. Did I see a question come up, or is that the same? Okay. So I guess we'll have a wonderful day, and we will be talking to you. Thanks so much. Bye bye.